we're flying British Airways in business class over to London Heathrow. So follow along and see what it's like. One thing is that it's always surprising to me that British Airways has 2 daily non-stop flights from San Diego to London Heathrow. And since I'm based out of San Diego, it's the fastest way to get over to Europe. Got my boarding pass, now we're headed over to the lounge. If you're flying out of the San Diego airport, it's pretty sad when it comes to the lounge situation because you only have access to the Aspire Lounge, which is pretty mediocre. I did a full review video on the Aspire Lounge, which I'll link down in the description. So this London flight departs out of gate 51, which is all the way down at the other end of the airport. Lufthansa also departs right next to it and out at these further end at these gates as well. I'm seated in 11F, and the first thing I notice when I board is that my carry-on doesn't fit in the overhead bin when it goes wheels in first, which is kind of surprising, but it's likely because this is a 777-200 that has been retrofitted with the new Club World suites, and the overhead bins haven't been updated. The cabin is arranged in a 1-to-1 configuration. Ideally, as a solo flyer, I would have picked a window seat, but British Airways charges you money to pick seats, even if you're flying in business class. Complimentary seat selection is only available when you check in for your flight, which is 24 hours before your flight. Thank you. Pre-departure drink is either champagne or orange juice. We got champagne. Okay. Now let me give you a seat tour. So even though I didn't get a window seat, there is a partition between me and my neighbor, so I don't see my neighbor at all. There's plenty of privacy. There are 2 storage areas that are pretty shallow, which are great to store things like your phone or your passport. And in the bigger storage area is where the remote for the entertainment system is, and there's also a USB port and an outlet plug as well. My biggest complaint about these storage compartments is that if you need to plug something into the outlet and say it's a pretty large charger, then the little cover doesn't close and you have to leave it open the entire flight, which kind of looks and feels kind of goofy. Moving further down, there's a small cubby hole that we can store like a water bottle or your headphones, and the footwell is pretty average on space. The seat controls are pretty nice because they're touch controls and you can control each individual element, but you also have some preset configurations as well. And if you want the screen to go dark, you hit the power button and it goes dark. In the smaller compartment up above, everybody gets a water bottle and an amenities kit. Let's open up and see what's inside. I have mask socks, there's earbuds. This is a gentle spa moisturizer. Also a lip balm. Oh, this is a pulse point roll-on thing, I think. And that's how you use it. So you roll it onto your wrist or so. Right. There's also a dental kit as well for control. Toothbrush and toothpaste. So there's noise-canceling headphones. There's I think this is a mattress cover that's by the White Company. And so all their stuff is by the White Company, British Airways branded mattress pad. That will be useful after the meal. The plane pushes back and the safety video plays and we're handed our menus. On the menu, there's a couple different cocktails. There's a gin cocktail, there's a cranberry cocktail, and there's also the Johnny Ginger, which is probably Johnny Walker whiskey with orange juice and ginger ale. And since I'm a whiskey drinker, that's my drink of choice. And on this flight, there were 2 meals served, a lunch/dinner and also a breakfast. As the plane levels off, we're handed a hot towel, which was really hot. And looking at the flight time, this is going to be a very quick flight. I put on part 2 of Dune and I pulled out my tray table, settled in, and waited for the meal service to begin. Meal service began with salted rosemary snack mix, and then I was served my Johnny Ginger, which I thought was a really good cocktail. I don't know why I've never thought of doing whiskey, orange juice, and ginger ale. This might be my new go-to cocktail. But sad to say, that was pretty much the only thing that was good about the meal service. On the starter dish, the prawns were fine, but like everything else was extremely disappointing. The white, sticky pasta thing was not good at all to me. I was hoping the couscous would be better, but as you can tell from my reaction, it was not good either. But maybe at least the bread would be good. It was not good. It was hard as a rock. I'd give this first dish a 3 out of 10. Pretty bad. Now for the main dish, which is a braised short rib. So how bad could this be, right? It doesn't look terrible, and I'm happy to report it wasn't that bad. A little greasy, a little heavy, but it tasted fine.
I would give the main dish a 6.5 out of 10.
Up until this point, the service was fine until dessert, which was a raspberry panna cotta. It's kind of strange that they didn't give me a fresh spoon and they kind of just left all the starters, the bread, and the couscous on my table. It didn't clear some of the empty cups, which I thought was kind of strange and not the service I was kind of expecting from British Airways or a business class flight. So I just kind of cleaned my own spoon with my own napkin and just went in for the raspberry panna cotta. I would say it wasn't terrible, but I think I would much prefer like a small container like Haagen-Dazs or maybe a brownie or something.
Kind of disappointing. I took a previous British Airways flight that was similar to this, but in the opposite direction, and it was much better than the service today and the food today.
I always eat my meals pretty quick when it comes to airplane meals so that I can hit to the bathroom before everyone else finishes their meals so I can brush my teeth and head to sleep. The thing I like about these tray tables is that you can push them forward and get out into the aisle without having to wait for the flight attendant to clear your tray. As for the bathroom, this is a older 777-200 that's been updated and retrofitted with the newer seats, and the bathroom is one thing they probably didn't update, and so it just looks like one of those standard bathrooms with a few soap amenities, and that's about it. I then headed back to my seat and got ready for some sleep, took out the duvet cover and the mattress pad, but this mattress pad is kind of weird. It's kind of too narrow, kind of short. It doesn't seem like it was made correctly for the Club World suite, but I just kind of made it work though. They call these the Club World suites because they do have doors that kind of encloses the entire seat. What I found out is that my door was actually jammed, and this happens a lot to a lot of these Club World suites. Eventually, a flight attendant came by and fixed it for me. The doors are short, but they do provide a little bit more privacy, especially when you're laying down. You don't see the person passing you in the aisle, or you don't see the TVs of your neighbors. I settled in, watched the rest of Dune 2, and got some sleep. A couple hours later, I woke up and went to go check out what's going on in the pantry. In the pantry, there are some snacks and some drinks that are laid out for business class passengers, chips, chocolate, sodas, and some juices. There's also a mini fridge with refrigerated snacks as well, just based on the quality of the food from the main meal. I was just kind of skeptical about snacks, so I didn't try any of them. About 2 hours before landing, breakfast was served, and breakfast was an English-style breakfast that I chose, and there was also croissant and granola and yogurt as well. Thankfully, breakfast was better, but all the other meals kind of set the bar pretty low, which is why I probably thought that the breakfast tasted pretty okay. And then after breakfast, we're on our descent into London Heathrow.
We're in London. I booked this flight last July, on July 21st, 2023, from San Diego to London Heathrow for 75,000 Asia miles, and that's Cathay Pacific Asia miles, and 3,028 Hong Kong dollars, which, let me do the math real quick, which is about $387 in taxes and fees. It's not 75,000 points anymore. I think Cathay Pacific devalued their award chart recently in the last couple months, so I think it might be like 85,000 points now instead of 75,000 points. So keep that in mind. You can transfer a bunch of credit card points over to Cathay Pacific Asia miles, including American Express points. And so you can mix and match a bunch of credit card bonuses and points and move them over to Cathay Pacific in order to make this redemption. If you're interested in any credit cards, I'll leave my links down in the description, and using those links helps support my work. And I'm still waiting for my bag here, so I'm gonna end this video here. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button down below, and I'll see you guys in the next one.